Okay, here's how to set up a vocal recording. Probably the simplest setup that we do. So, what are you going to need for this? You're going to need a mic stand, preferably one of the nice K&M stands if it's available. They are the best stands that we have. Pair of studio headphones. Now, there's always pairs living here right where the recording happens. We normally record vocals in the control room. It is possible to record them in the drum room or even the practice room next door, but that's a little bit more of a complicated setup. Most of the time we record vocals in here. You'll also need an XLR cable. Now, because we do lots of vocal recordings in here, I leave one permanently hanging up here, so that should be available to you. And you'll need a pop filter as well. We have 3 to choose from. This one with the bigger clip, we have 2 of those. This one is actually better than this one. This one in the middle is to be used only if you need 3 at the same time. It's a little bit wobbly, it tends to fall over. We also need a suitable microphone, and we're going to use a Samson CO1, which is kept up here in one of these cases. So I'm going to take that down and get that ready as well. Okay, if you need thread converters, of course, they are kept in the black box, which lives here on the edge of this bottom shelf. So let's get set. First job, microphone stand. As before, open the tripod. Okay, we need to leave plenty of room for our engineer who's going to be doing the recording as well. So there is space for 2 people to work in here. Okay, now depending on how tall your vocalist is, you might need to adjust the stand. I'm going to set it up for my own height. So I've opened the boom. Okay, got that approximately ready. So we've got a small thread on here. That didn't go very well. Let's put that back. Let's work tidy. Really important that you pack down afterwards as well and put everything back where you found it. So this one has a big thread as opposed to a little thread. So I'm going to need to find a thread converter. There's one. This one only has notches on one side. So make sure that the notches are pointing out. That's just because if it gets stuck, that way you can use a screwdriver to get it out again. So wiggle that in, doesn't need to be all the way in. As before with the stand, spin the stand, not the mic. Okay, now you can have it pointing upside down if you want, or you can have it pointing the right way up, doesn't matter. Again, just adjust things so it's about the right height for your vocalist. Should be roughly that the blue light that's going to light up when we plug it in is roughly level with their nose. Okay, that's going to give you a nice capture. Okay, so let's get that plugged in. Take the XLR off the wall. Take it out of the figure of 8, of course. Female end, the one with the 3 pins, or not the one with the 3 pins, the one with the 3 holes. Okay, onto the microphone. Other end, now we're going to go into channel 1 of the interface, okay, which is why it's labelled as a spare/Vox. Okay, channel 1 of the interface, nice and straightforward. And you can see that because the phantom power is active on the interface, which is here, the power is being provided to channels 1, 2, 3, and 4. That means that the blue light has then lit up and this microphone is ready to use. The gain control for this one will be channel 1, which at the moment is set to down because I've just plugged it in. So when you're leveling, which is done in exactly the same way as the drum recording, see an earlier video, when you're leveling to -18, this is what you're going to need to adjust. And you can see if I turn up, I've got signal coming through. Hope you can see that. I've got signal coming through on here just to check that everything's working. Next up, pop filter. Now what you want is you want the pop filter between the vocalist and the microphone. You don't want the pop filter touching the microphone. Okay, so it's quite flexible, quite bendy, quite adjustable, right? Clamp it onto the microphone stand. Okay, now it's important to get the stand in the right place before you put the pop filter on, because you can see now that I've attached it, there's much less adjustment in the stand. Okay, so get your stand sorted first, then put your pop filter on. Okay, I've put this way too high actually. Okay, and actually that's not a very good spot. So I'm going to do a little bit of adjustment. So I'm going to move the boom forward, put the main stand down, and that way I've got a bit more space on the boom. Oops, put it on backwards. Not like I'm doing this on camera or anything, it's fine. Okay, do that up. And now we should have decent pop filter location. There we go. So it's between the vocalist and the microphone, but it's not touching, and that is ready to go. Finally, we need to make sure that the headphone amp is on, the blue headphone amp. That's the one that we're going to use for monitoring in this one. Should be switched on, showed you how to do that in a previous video. And we're going to need to monitor, because what we don't want is we don't want to have the main studio monitors on while we record, because that means that the microphone would be picking up the backing track and creating loops of things, and we don't want that. This pair of headphones hasn't been put away very well. Look at that, big knot in that. That is definitely not me. Okay, there we go. While I'm here, I'm going to turn off the monitors so we don't get any feedback that we shouldn't have. So your engineer will also need to wear a pair of headphones if they want to hear what's going on. So I'm going to plug the vocalist into the first input. Okay, there are 4 inputs on this. Don't worry about what's over here, that's the master control. We've got input 1, input 2, input 3, and input 4. Headphones go in there. Now, you could be all sloppy about it, and you could just like leave the headphones on the floor or something like that, but we actually have a nice little piece of kit, which is quite useful. Oh, pop filter's fallen over. Okay, nice little piece of kit. This is called a headphone hanger. It is basically a hook, and it clamps onto the microphone stand. That pop filter does not want to stay still today. I said the other ones were a bit wobbly. This one actually seems to be causing me problems. Ah, that's why it's loose at this end. Let's tighten that up. There we go, that's much better. Much better. Now we've got a headphone hanger and second pair of headphones for whoever is engineering, and anyone else who's in here, in fact. If anyone else is, in the studio and taking part in the recording project but not active, they can have a pair of headphones on as well so that they can hear what's going on. So this one's going to go into channel 2, just like that. And then that is ready for the engineer. You could give them a headphone hanger as well if you wanted to. And that is how to set up a vocal recording in the control room. In terms of getting that into Logic, it's exactly the same as the drum recording. Use the Focus 18i20, but make sure that you use channel 1 rather than selecting channels 2 through 8 like you did with the drum recording.